Hello, 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 and welcome back to episode 5 of Rad Talk, where sports and medicine collide. I'm Dennis, that's Gage, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just going to do a quick recap for you guys. We touched on some of the travel stuff last time. Gage touched on some of the undergrad, beginning of medical school stuff, which he's going to elaborate on. I'm going to jump
Mhm.
into some more of the travel stuff. So last time we ended with, okay, the travel pay, you're going through the interview. We're going to start with, okay, now you got the offer, you've accepted. Where do you go from here? And now you're going to start getting a bunch of emails to go and get your vaccines if you need to get your flu shot, or if you need to get your tuberculosis check. And so you're going to go do that. You're going to have to go get a physical. You get drug tested every new job you get. Um,
It's
you
unfortunate.
also, yeah. And so if you take a new job every 3 months, you get drug tested every 3 months. Um, okay. And so you're also probably going to get sent a message from the manager about whether that's orientation, or different. Also, you have to do different modules for the company that you're working for, as well as probably modules for the hospital, whether that's going through how to lift people properly, whatever modules that particular hospital
Hmm.
mandates for their employees. And so in the sonography world, you have to also take a sonography test. It's a competency test for the company that you're working for. And usually you have to do that once a year, unless you're switching companies, then you need to take that particular competency for that company. And so these are all the things that you got to get done before your start date, which can vary. I mean, if they needed you, and usually they give it about 2 weeks or so, because you need to be able to get the drug test, do those
Hmm.
things, and it needs to get back to the hospital as successful and that you passed, and before they can allow you to start. A little tidbit, I'm going to give you a little nugget here. Um, the hospital sometimes will say, we need you to get this particular pair of scrubs. We all
Hmm.
wear gray, and we want you to wear
Yeah.
gray. And I used to do that. I used to find those scrubs, and sometimes it was a pain in the neck, depending on where I was living, and you got to get it, mailed to you in time frame, and it's kind of crunch time. And so my
Can't just use the
nugget,
hospital ones.
my nugget is, um, if you have other scrubs, typically, if you wear that to the hospital and you say, hey, like, my scrubs haven't came in yet, are you okay with this? They usually don't care.
Yeah.
It's usually per policy that they have to forward you that, wear these particular scrubs. And I used to do that, and then once I just was just like, oh, okay, I have this pair of scrubs. They don't care.
Hmm.
I've been to a lot of hospitals, and they don't care usually. Um, I've never actually been to a hospital that really cared.
Yeah.
um, I think, and I think Gauge is probably another thing. I think you could probably get away with wearing the scrubs from the hospital, whether that's from the OR scrubs or whatever. That's something that I haven't done, just because I like my scrubs with my nice pockets. And
Yeah.
also another nugget. Um, Typically, the company that you're working for factors in um, the price of scrubs. And so if you need to buy scrubs, that's reimbursable, because that's something that you need for the job. Also, another little thing is reimbursable is your license for that particular state. Now, an ultrasound, I believe
Hmm.
there's only four states that you need a ultrasound specific license: New Mexico, North Dakota, Oregon, and New Hampshire. I think that's four. Um, and so they'll reimburse you for that as well. Also, parking. Like, I've worked in Los Angeles before. I know I'm like going into
Hmm.
side. Worked in Los Angeles, and I worked with people there who parking, it was $15 a day just to park at the hospital,
It's
which
expensive.
is adds up. Oh my gosh, $15 a day.
Yeah.
That's, work 5 days a week. That's a lot of money. And so that's also reimbursable through the company. And so these are questions that I highly recommend before you take the job. Find these things out, and make sure that the company factors that into reimbursing you for these expenses. Okay, so you've got the job. You're
Hmm.
going in day one. You get to meet all of the the rads, everybody in radiology, the sonographers, whatever, the nurses. And so I think the most important thing I can say going into it is like, and I know this is try to fit in
Yeah.
to the best you can, because they do things a certain way, and you don't want to be the one who says, well, at this place we did it this way,
Yeah.
and at place we did it this way, because people are going to they're going to be like, well, you're not in Kansas anymore.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
like we do our protocols this way, we have this set up, and you need to follow along with what they say. That's been a hard time for me, just for various things. Sometimes, just an example, I do a right upper quadrant in some places, and we can just look at the gallbladder, and where I do a
hmm
right upper quadrant at this place, and I look at the liver and right kidney, gallbladder, and I do a right upper quadrant here, and it's everything minus the pancreas, or add the pancreas. And so
Yeah.
these little short little things that you just have to kind of remember. The weirdest thing, not the weirdest, but the most unique, I can say weird, most unique
Yeah.
thing that I think I've ever seen was these rads were familiar with the old B scanners, which I've never worked on before, because it's very archaic, I think.
Yeah.
But all of their ultrasounds were done from right to left, and you did no labeling of any organs ever.
Oh God.
So you just wrote like sagittal right, transverse right, sagittal mid, and it was from we're talking, thyroids to the abdomens to
Yeah.
everything was done just right to left. You didn't label anything, which was very difficult to get used to. But again, you do it the way they want you to do it. Now, if something is, in a like completely wrong or like scary or something, obviously bring that to somebody's attention.
Yeah.
But the radiologists make these protocols, and they typically go along with like ACR guidelines or other
hmm
guidelines that are recommended. And so do it that way. Um, Another like little bit is some hospitals have you clocking in and out, and some don't. And so uh, my thing is, and when I first started, I would ask a lot of questions, like where do I clock in and out at? Where do I um, do this at or that at? And then I think I've learned that I don't ask as many questions because I just want them to tell me how they do it.
hmm
Because I feel like the more questions I ask, the more doors, the more Pandora's boxes I can open. And
Yeah.
so if you tell me I need to clock out here, then I'll clock out here. If you don't tell me I need to clock out here, then I won't clock out here. 'Cause usually the clocking in and out doesn't make a difference on our end, because a lot of times what we're doing is we're sending our time cards to the company, to the travel company,
Yeah.
and then we're getting it. You have to have a manager sign that, and then the travel company is sending it a copy to the hospital or to the HR, and so they have records of it. The travel company has records of it, and then you get paid appropriately. You have a manager or supervisor or lead or whomever they designate for you to sign that piece of paper for you. Um, and I also wanted to kind of go into a a brief overview of sometimes like a travel assignment might not work out. Um, I've
hmm
worked, and this is kind of like taboo. I don't hear a lot about this, but this is just a little tidbit. I've worked with different folks that literally I'm working side by side with, and they were let go. I worked with somebody that I'd worked with for a week, and I was doing training, and I can tell you that this individual was let go because he was a jerk.
Yeah.
He literally he was
Yeah.
and he'd started, and the sonographer started to complain about him, how he was talking to them. He was taking exams that he wanted to do as opposed
Cherry
to like
picking. Yeah.
he was cherry picking
Yeah.
the exam that he thought would fit, be easiest or was whatever for him.
Yep.
People start recognizing that, and sometimes you can get away with that, but don't be a jerk. um, and,
Yeah.
and 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 next thing you know, by the end of the week, people were asking me, and I was like, well, that's just how he is, how his personality is.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, he was gone. They got him out. I also have worked with other folks that maybe weren't as competent, And so they noticed a huge drop off from their full-time sonographers to this traveler who's come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of places I worked, I don't know everything. And so I've learned a ton of stuff everywhere I go, whether it's from the doctors or the sonographers, or, sometimes you do, an ABI or something, you haven't done that in a year,
Yeah.
or hips or something, you haven't done it in a long time. And you go in, you're like, hey, I think if you're honest and you're forthright with that, with the managers or, the company and things, and you come in there, you say, I haven't done this in a while. People, I don't know if I've been extremely lucky, but people were more than willing to teach me or to walk me through the process again.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that, like, I'm being honest, like, I don't necessarily remember how to do this particular thing. Like, show me how to do it. Give me a couple times. I've never had any pushback. I don't know if that's just unique in the sonography world, that we're always trying to like learn new things or remember how to do other things. It's like riding. I know it's like riding a bike. Sometimes if you haven't done it in a while, sometimes you need a little bit of a refresher, and
Yeah.
that's okay. I don't want anybody to be discouraged on, like,
It's
oh,
just
I can't.
too much to know for us to remember how to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
everything all the time.
right.
So
And especially if you're working at, different facilities. I mean, some departments in sonography world, they don't do vascular at all, or some departments don't do second and third trimester OBs at
yep, that's
all.
how it is here. Yeah.
And so you're like, if I'm working in a place there for extended period of time, and I'm not doing second or third trimesters, and then I go to a hospital and they're like, well, we're going to do a lot of second and thirds, we're going to do anatomy scans, we're going to do full fetals, we're looking at the heart, LVOT, RVOT, and you're like, well, I have not done that in because I've been working
Yeah.
in this particular place for 6 or 7 months. And so I think there's that understanding that we're willing to show you, we're willing to teach you, we'll take time with you. I've even had places that exams I've never done before, whether that was some MSK stuff or
Yeah.
some TCDs, that is, I think, a lot of
Oh
times
gosh.
done by echo or vascular departments, that they did there, and they were willing to show me, and I was just like blown away that not only have I never done this before, but you're willing to take the time and make sure that I become competent at it, knowing that I'm going to leave. And I think that goes back to being open and honest, trying to fit in,
Mm-hmm.
trying to be nice. Is Sam making a presence there?
Yeah, she's
Uh,
trying. Yeah.
if you're listening, Gage's cat Sam makes a presence from here and there. So, um, but yeah, and so I think those are all important things. Just be like a respectful, open, honest person,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going to go a long way, because as a traveler, people are looking, you're filling a need, and you're there to help the department. And some departments are going to bring you in and they're going to abuse you sometimes,
Oh yeah.
because
Oh
they
yeah.
feel like you're getting paid a lot more than them, and so they feel like you should do double the amount of work. Um, and if something like that happens, I think it's important to have a conversation with the recruiter, have a conversation with the manager, know that you're only there for a short period of time. And so if you feel like it's not worth those conversations and you can just push through, make a mental note of how that is. Hopefully, they acknowledge that you're a person, and that,
Yeah.
this is a field that, has a lot of injuries, and that they don't want you to get any more hurt than you want them to get hurt. And so we all kind of bury that bird or carry that burden. And I think, and I understand, because before working with a traveler, or before being a traveler, I've worked with travelers before,
Mm-hmm.
and I've felt that way. You're making so much more money, but that was before I took into account the expenses that we had talked about on
Yeah.
prior episodes of housing and yada yada yada. And so, yeah, I just wanted to touch
I was
on.
always interested in the dynamic because it's the same with residents and
Mhm,
attendings, right? They're paid exponentially more than we are, especially
right,
as a fellow. They
right,
do a little bit more work than I do, but they don't do much. So I understand the being
yeah,
angry about the pay discrepancy.
right.
Um,
It's
but
it's it's tough, and I think if you want to, especially now, or especially anytime, I guess, I feel like I've become more aware that I'm excited for any individual that is able to go out and get what they feel they're worth. If you can
mhm,
get what you feel, financially, that you're worth, like, kudos to you. Um, I would rather be mad at the hospital,
Yeah.
the entity, the big entity that's not paying other people appropriately, or isn't taking care of their employees appropriately, that's maybe causing some of these turnovers or causing these traveler issues. I mean, sometimes traveler issues are just caused because some couple people went on maternity leave at the same time, and you're just kind of in a rut.
Yeah.
And then other times it's being mismanaged. One of the top reasons people leave their job is management, supervisor. They don't get along, or they don't see, they're being overworked, various reasons. And so you see those. I see a lot of those kind of things too. And so I think I would be more hard pressed to be upset with the hospital and not the individual. Take care of your people. Your people will take care of you.
Hmm.